Hey guys, welcome back to the newest episode of Tenacious podcast. Each time, me and my friend Julia sip on some drinks and discuss a badass woman from history or mythology. And this week, we're going to be covering Freya from Norse mythology. She is incredible. She's the goddess of like 10 different things. You can spell her name a million different ways. And you'll find out that Norse mythology gets a little bit slutty. It's just a good time all around. I really hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Welkom, Venner, and welcome back to another episode of Tenacious podcast. Today, we're going to be diving into one of the Norse goddesses, Freya. She was known as one of the most important Norse goddesses and probably the most celebrated, the most
Cherished and like beloved.
Everybody loved her, knew her, and ritually prayed to her all the time. She's associated with love, sex, lust, beauty, sorcery, fertility, gold, war, and death. So kind of all around the spectrum. Um, Freya means lady directly in Norwegian, and there's multiple like different ways you can spell her name. Kind of the most popular in the way that she's commonly written down, it's Freyja, but I mean you can spell it like 15 different ways. She was known for all these different things, and mostly like was known for the gold aspect. And she was constantly seen wearing
the gold and the sex.
Well, the gold and the sex, yes, but the gold was because she was constantly wearing like adorning like gold jewelry. She wore like this gold waist belt all the time, and she was actually known to cry gold tears, which we'll get into, I guess, a little bit later.
What a cool power, right? So I actually have something to add there. So the specific type of sorcery that she was associated with is called satyr, and it's a pre-Christian version of shamanism, which includes discerning the course of fate and working within that like framework to bring change. And so like often they would symbolically weave in new events like into the life or whatever. And it's just so cool. Like that's such a cool way to like think about it.
Yeah, that it wasn't seen as like a bad thing, you know?
No, it was like celebrated, and she was one of the most accomplished sorcerers within Satyr. And like Old Norse literature has tons of examples of this, like the use of Satyr. They cover like every possible imaginable scenario of a human life basically, so you can like make change in any realm of any life within any situation through this magic.
It could be like health, it could be your wealth, it could be social aspects.
It could be like, hey man, I need to be better at remembering to brush my teeth.
Actually, Vikings were really hygienic.
They were extremely hygienic, one of the most hygienic ancient cultures of all time, actually.
The Norse and Scandinavians, for sure. They really took pride in the way that they looked, and they didn't try to like fake it, you know?
Yeah, they like bleached their hair and combed it and had tweezers.
They would take citrus fruit and they'd actually rub it on their heads to get highlights. It's still like a commonly known like thing to do. You rub a lemon on your head.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Scandinavians, like their epitome of beauty was blonde, voluptuous, blue eyes, very tall. And so that's exactly how Freya was depicted in all the pictures. Was beautiful curly blonde hair. She was a curvy gal because they valued that more than they valued like your Americanized nowadays skinny chick.
Yeah.
So Freya, not only was she like super beautiful, but she was also a twin. Freya had a twin brother, Freyr, who was also like the polar opposite of her. They were both known for fertility, love, sex, all that jazz. And she and Freyr were the son and daughter of Njord and his sister Nerthus. So back in the day, it was frowned upon for like the common people to be uh having incest, but between the gods it was actually very common that you would like marry your sister or your brother and and your offspring, and it was meant to be like a good thing up there but not down below. So
Yeah, man, it's ancient. It's ancient Norse. It's
ancient.
normal.
So she was married to the god Oder.
I think it's Ode.
Ode. I've heard Odir, I've heard Odor, like Hodor. But we'll say Ode. I like that. So she was married to the god Ode, and had two children who were. You're gonna have to help me on this.
I think it's Nos and Jersimi.
Nos Jersimi, yeah, Jersimi. Norwegian's pretty cool, like the way
I
that
have no idea, but that's my best guess.
I actually am trying to do. Well, I've been trying for years to do Norwegian on Duolingo. Like I know a few things, but my favorite is skillpoddle, which means turtle.
Aw,
Skillpoddle.
that's awesome. How cute.
um. So Ode was actually like out of town all the time, and so she constantly like longed for him. She was super into like poems and beauty and romance, and so every time that he would leave, she'd actually cry the gold tears, and everybody would know that she was missing Ode because of that reason. Which is funny because she's not necessarily like being completely loyal to him.
Yeah.
So our girl Freya, she did like to sleep around, but again, she's the goddess of fertility
And sex
and
and love and lust and beauty. Like, come on.
and Ode knew about it. He was also sleeping out and around, but he was like,
Was he?
yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, okay, I guess all the Norse gods kind of were.
there's like word that he had like concubines when he was on his travels.
So at a certain point, Ode actually like mysteriously disappears from mythology and kind of like becomes Odin. So at a certain point, Freya is just like married to Odin instead of Ode. It's I don't know. It's very interesting. The morphology of Norse mythology is crazy.
Yeah, so many people turn into other people who
Mm-hmm.
split up and
Turn into another person.
yeah,
But so the basic structure is that there are two classes of gods and goddesses in Norse mythology. There are the Aesir and the Vanir. And Freya is originally from the Vanir, and then there's a war, and as a token of truce, they trade three gods and goddesses to each other. So Freya goes from the Vanir to the Aesir, and she's actually like super beloved by both. She's a favorite of both groups of gods and goddesses, and her twin brother is traded with her as well. But she does eventually become an honorary member of the Aesir. That's the class that like Thor and Odin and I guess those are the big two. Loki are from that like most people would know.
So it's funny, she actually not only just like chills in Asgard, but she actually is one of the goddesses of the underworld too.
Yeah.
She works hand in hand with Odin, where they each take like a 50-50 split of all the fallen warriors on who they wish to take with them. So she would take the fallen warriors to the underworld, whereas Odin would take them to Valhalla. But she got first dibs on who she wanted to bring to the underworld. Like the underworld wasn't seen as like hell there. That was seen as where like you can go and you can finally be at rest. You were finally like you've completed your life and you completed it well. Whereas when you were taken to Asgard, you were looked at as like, like a battle chief, or you would fight wars up there. Like your service wasn't quite done yet. So it was a good thing to be taken by Freya. Well, and that's also to keep in mind that she's not actually like the leader of the underworld. She's just one of the goddesses that helps control it. There's multiple gods and goddesses that
She has a section that she is the ruler of.
she takes like the people before the others go to Odin.
Yeah, but that's like the place that she takes them to is her.
Like that's her
It's
portion of
called
the
Folkvang.
Folkvang. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it's the afterlife realm folk thing, and it's part of the underworld. Also, the type of practitioner she is in Seder, the magic I was talking about, is Volsva,
That's right, yeah.
which is
She was a Volsva.
Volva. I like it. So Freya is so beautiful. Like we said, goddess of beauty. Everyone loves her. She's super cool. She's like the epitome of Norse beauty. But she is admired by people of not only all the gods, but also people of all races, including dwarves and giants and elves. And she's just beloved. People just love her.
It's actually a story of Loki like trying to put her on blast for sleeping with a bunch of elves.
Oh yeah. He also accused her of having slept with every god and elf in the kingdom involving her brother, including her brother.
Which, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them if they did. They're both the god and the goddess of love and lust and fertility. And I mean, it was common for them to sleep together back in the
Yeah,
day.
it's Old Norse, it's normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was like kind of the party girl of the group, so like it would make sense.
She was. Yeah, she was always around and like made everybody else have a good time, and she was all about like keeping it easy.
Keeping it easy. Keep it sleazy.
Keep it sleazy with Freya.
Yeah, so do you know what else Freya loves to do?
What?
Travel.
She does.
Because she can go to all the realms.
So she actually has a cloak made of falcon feathers, which is what causes her. She can either transform into a hawk or she can use the cloak itself to fly.
Would she not turn into a falcon?
Well, yeah, she can. So there's two ways that she can
Yeah,
fly.
but you said hawk.
Fuck, falcon. I said that. I said that before, didn't I? Damn it. Yeah, no, she can turn into a falcon, and I do have a story about the falcon cloak. It's not really a story about Freya, but she plays a huge part in really saving like all of Asgard.
It's pretty cool.
So it's actually a story about Idun. So Idun means the rejuvenating one, and she's one of the most prominent goddesses as well as Freya. So she's the keeper of the mysterious fruits that all of the gods and goddesses eat, which keep them youthful and keep them alive and keep them rejuvenated. And Idun was the one who knew where the magic forest was, and she was the one who went and collected the fruit for everybody. Three of the Aesir gods, it's Odin, Loki, and Hymir, were all on a journey that took them through some mountains, right? And they're trudging along. They come across a group of oxen. So they decide that they're going to take one of the oxen and eat it for dinner because they've been traveling all day. They're real hungry. They take this oxen, they kill it, they put it in like a fire pit. And so they wait a few hours and they go to check on it, and it's still bloody and raw. It hasn't been cooked at all. So they're like, this is a little ridiculous. Like, what the hell's going on? And they look up and they see an eagle perched on a branch. And the eagle basically says, "It's me, and by magic, I prevent you from cooking. If you give me my fill of the meat, then I'll let you guys go." And so the gods were like, "Yeah, I guess, dude. Like, come down and eat some of this oxen." So they end up cooking it. He comes down and he picks the most choice piece of the oxen. So Loki's pissed about that because he thinks that he didn't keep up his side of the bargain. We let you have some. We didn't say you could have the best part of it. And he took a branch and he lunged at the eagle. So the eagle ends up flying up, and he swoops down, grabs Loki, and is like hanging him above the ground. Is basically like, "I'll fucking kill you, man." And come to find out that the eagle was actually a giant who was in disguise. He shapeshifted. The giant Thyzi. So he refused to let Loki go until Loki promised that the giant could have Idun, like as like a hostage or a slave, and get her fruit and become youthful forever. So Loki was like, "Okay, fine, dude. Like, I'll trade you her, and we'll concoct a plan to get her back." So Idun gets captured by the giant, and she's held in this like giant ass nest, like above everything. While Loki was trying to figure out a way to save her, here comes Freya, and she's like, "You know what? Take my cloak, and you turn into a falcon and go save her. You could take on this eagle." So He does. He transforms into an eagle and he flies all the way over to Idun and he picks her up. He transforms her because the cloak can transform people into things, and Loki was all magical as shit. So transforms her into a seed. He catches her in his talons, flies all the way back to Asgard, and literally like while he was like racing his ass off, the eagle was catching up. It was like this last minute thing, and Loki's companions, like all the other gods, saw this happening and they lit a fire right when Loki like closed the gap. They lit a fire and then the giant ends up exploding.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so that was the way that like Freya basically saved all the gods, because had they not had Idun, then they wouldn't be able to live forever.
Yeah, they become mortal. That's cool.
Yeah, so I mean,
I forgot that he explodes.
yeah, at the very last.
The best part. That'd be like the action scene part where it's like, choo, and it like shows a shot of Falcon Loki, and then it's like, choo, and it shows a shot of Eagle Giant, and then it goes like back, it pans back and forth,
Yeah,
and then it's like pans out, and they're like a foot away from each other, and then like Loki goes over the wall that they made,
yeah,
and then the fire goes up and he explodes, and it's cool. That'd be a cool movie scene. Anyways. So another way that Freya would like travel around, besides her really awesome heroic cape,
is my favorite.
is she had a chariot that was pulled by two. Oh, well, she actually had two other ways of getting around.
Yeah, two other ways, but the chariot's my favorite.
Okay, you talk about the chariot then, because the other one's my.
Perfect. I have a little bit more to touch on that. So she used to travel around in a chariot that was pulled by two cats.
They were black and gray.
Black and gray cats. And the funny thing about Norse mythology is they really gave a lot of credit to like the animals. But the only thing is like nobody knows what the cats' names are. Like they have a well documented all the names of like the horses and the cows and
Dude, you're
the
right.
dogs. Yeah, but they don't have any name for the two cats. They can't find it.
Weird.
But she's seen like depicted on with them so many times.
Weird.
I know. And if you ever wanted to gain her favor, you would actually sacrifice a cat to her.
Oh, that's sad.
I mean, that is sad, but like,
all right.
but it was the same with other. Like, if you wanted to like get the favor of Odin, you would either sacrifice a horse or a human. If you wanted to grant his favor.
All right, everyone, let's go out and get Odin's favor.
Nah. I don't condone that, guys.
No, I don't either. No sacrificing anything.
But the other way she got around
was a flying boar named Hildsvini, which means battle swine. But it has been said that Hildsvini was her human lover Otar in disguise. So Loki would like give her shit all the time about riding her lover around in public.
Yeah. Dude, Loki just hated on her.
Dude, Loki's a little shit talker.
He hated on everybody, really.
Staple Milk would be Loki.
Oh, yeah. Staple Milk would totally be Loki. Which sucks because it's like the Avengers movie, they make Loki like out to be like a little twerp,
Yeah, he's
like
not
not
at all like the real Norse Loki. Like Thor is a little douche. I don't know. I actually honestly can't tell which Thor is douchier.
Yeah, Thor in Norse mythology is
probably like first movie Thor is the douchiest, but then like the Avengers MCU Thor gets a lot less douchey than real Norse mythology Thor ever does, if that makes sense. His peak is better.
Yeah.
Also, he gets fat, and that's just awesome.
Well, and also like
spoiler alert.
I don't know. Yeah. I just hate how Loki's portrayed. Like he's like fun and jovial, like he's not as like
he's totally a dick though. Like he's pretty
like he's a dick.
He's
He's
pretty
not like
menacing.
He's not like straight up evil. No.
He's the cause of Ragnarok. Though.
I mean that's true. I mean, yes, but that's just me seeing the good in everybody.
I don't know.
I'm like, no, he's funny.
He's more fun. I'm not saying you're wrong in that sense. I'm just saying like he's still evil. He's just a funnier evil.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Okay. So, I have one more thing to touch on about Seder because I think it's really cool. So Freya is actually the one that gave this magic to humans and the gods and goddesses. So they didn't have this before Freya. And she's the one that taught it to everyone. And she's like the most expert at controlling and manipulating desires of like health and prosperity of others, including other gods and goddesses, which is like part of the reason she is so favored. And like her knowledge and power within Seder and like as a vulva are without compare. No one else even comes close to her skill level, which I just think is pretty badass.
Like she literally weaves it in.
Mm-hmm.
They all thought it was based on getting her favor. So it was about like, living a good life and
Well,
sacrificing to her, praying to her.
as my next story goes to show,
What?
you if you get in her favor, it goes pretty well for everyone.
Ooh, I want to hear.
All right,
Tell us, tell us.
but she can really fuck everyone over.
Yeah?
So, this is the story of how Freya got her most prized possession.
I was going to say how Freya got her groove back.
You threw off my groove! Uh, no, so her most prized possession is a piece of jewelry. And so as of like actual history, it's we don't actually know what it was. It could be any piece of jewelry, a watch, a
Necklace, a ring.
ring, but it's most commonly accepted that it was a necklace, so throughout the story I will refer to it as a necklace. But it's called Brisingamen, and it only survives in pieces, the story, but this is a pieced together version of the story. Uh, so basically, one day, Freya wakes up before dawn and she just kind of is in a weird trance and she just starts walking and she's thinking about gold. So Loki spots her walking around in this trance and he follows, because he's Loki. And so she crosses the Bifrost, which is, if you don't know, a really cool interdimensional rainbow bridge. And she gets to Midgard, which is Earth. And that's where the dwarves and the humans live. Like, we used to be friends, but not so much anymore. So, at the end of the day, of a long day of walking, she gets to a cavern. She goes in and she just starts walking deeper and deeper with Loki just tailing behind her the whole time. So finally, Freya walks through a narrow opening and into the smithing room of four dwarves: Alfred, Dvalin, Berling, and Grer. So Loki watches from the opening of the door, and at first Freya is just blinded by the light of the forge, because like forges are hella bright and it's super dark in a cave. So, as you can imagine. As she adjusts, though, to the light, she sees this incredible work of art that the dwarves have made, which is Brisingamen. It is dazzling. It's like nothing anyone has ever seen. It's just insurmountably intricate, and she's never wanted anything more in her life. Freya asks a price for the necklace and offers anything. She will trade them anything she has for this necklace. And the dwarves confer with each other and they say, if you will spend one night with each of us, you can have the necklace. So Freya goes, all right, yep. After 4 days with the dwarves, they fasten the necklace around her neck, and she's just happy as a clam. She's just so excited, can't wait to get back and show off to everyone. Little does she know, Loki ran ahead of her, went to Odin like a little bitch. So he goes and tells Odin that Freya has been whoring around with these dwarves as a prostitute or whatever. And Odin just gets pissed at Loki and tells him that he needs to go get that necklace right now. So that night, Loki goes to sneak into Freya's house, but he can't get in through the door. So he becomes a fly and goes in through the roof. He finds the necklace on her neck with the clasp on the underside. So he turns into a flea and stings her cheek. Freya rolls over enough that Loki can turn into Loki form and take the necklace off of her. He just straight like walks out the front door and leaves it open after that, which is hella rude. When Freya wakes up, she goes to see the front door open and she figures out that only Loki could have transformed and gotten out like that. And then she figures that Loki wouldn't have come and stolen it by himself, so she knows Odin's behind it. So she storms up to Odin's place and she just gets pissed. She goes up and she starts yelling at him about being a thief and how he's debased himself and all these things. And Odin just gets mad and stops her. And he says, "It's you that has debased yourself when you sold your body to 4 dwarves." So he says that she must accept punishment. She can have the necklace back if she will stir up war and misery among men forever. He said, "Whether they wish it or not, let men rip one another to pieces." So Freya goes, "Yep." And I guess now we all know why we're all assholes.
It's all because Freya wanted that necklace
So bad.
so bad. Kind of fucked up.
Isn't that a crazy story?
Yeah, that's a crazy origin story as to why there's war. Why there's hatred.
Why there's like constant war. They're like, so there was this greedy bitch one day, and now we all hate each other.
Surprise! I mean, it's true. There was tons of war between the Scandinavian tribes back in the day. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the TV show Vikings, but
Oh, it's sick.
it's actually a pretty good depiction on how life was in those times. It's obviously Hollywoodized. But
I spent the first 2 seasons Googling pretty much every event that happened, and they're all at least 85% historically accurate, which is really good in my book for a TV show.
I completely agree, especially when based off of something that could have been completely changed, I guess.
Like rewritten totally.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, great TV show. The actors and actresses kill it.
It's so good. Oh my god, Lagatha is the shit. We should do a Lagatha episode.
I'd be down. I was her for Halloween the last 2 years.
Well, you're not blonde this year.
Not this year, no. So another reason to love Freya, a lot of people think that Freya means Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the day of the week.
She could totally be the origin for Friday.
She could, but also it could be another goddess named Frigg. So Freya or Frigg, who are seen as two different goddesses now, could either one of them could be the origin for the word Friday. However, there's a lot of speculation that they're actually the same person. So around 1,000 Common Era, so after Christ, when Christianity really started to kind of take hold of Scandinavia and Norway, they think that, I mean, this is what historians think because Frigg was never mentioned prior to them, and then all of a sudden started showing up in all this mythology. So they think that the Christians wanted to kind of convert all of the Norse gods to kind of match what their setup was with God and Jesus and Mary and Peter and all of the apostles and everything. They really wanted to make it mimic. So they think that they created Frigg to kind of mirror the Mother Mary because let's be honest, Freya was a little too crazy to match up with the Mother Mary, and she was promiscuous, and Mary was a virgin.
Yeah, the Christians don't like us whores.
No, no. And so Frigg was created, they believe, by the Christians to, Frigg was also for fertility and love and romance and all that jazz, but
she was not associated with fertility though, and they got rid of the whole satyr thing, which was honestly the coolest part.
Yeah, yeah. So sex was a no-no, but it was about love, romance, beauty, yada yada.
Poems, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so
and all that jazz.
So other than their names almost being pretty similar, Norse time, Freya means lady and Frigg means beloved. Those are direct translations.
So if you found this episode interesting, you should for sure go out and do some more research and check out any other sources you can find. the internet has great things, obviously. Neil Gaiman has some really cool books on Norse mythology and stuff, so you can check those out. But it gets so much more complicated than what we got into here. Like, we barely even touched on all of Freya's aspects. Like, there's so much more to her. She's involved in so many more stories, and like, there's the possibility of her having like multiple other children, and that's like a whole nother thing. But if you thought this was cool, like, you should definitely check out some more Norse mythology because it is a fascinating subject, and just study everything you can.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked that episode, please give us a follow. We are Tenacious VS podcast on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Podbean, and YouTube. You can also subscribe to us on Patreon, where you can get exclusive extras from Nona and I, and a recipe card for a food or drink that's inspired by our Tenacious Lady of the Week. This episode was spoken, produced, and recorded by Julia and Nona. All musical contributions were done by Denver rapper Staple Milk. Come back soon for more tales of bodacious babes throughout the centuries.